So over the last month or so, I have been seeing many people talk about their desire to see Warcraft's next expansion take them away from a cosmic setting like the Shadowlands and to something more, as the title of the video puts it, something more grounded. If you don't exactly know what that means, the word grounded is defined as something well-balanced and sensible. So they desire something practical, something familiar, and not too over the top. And from my understanding on the subject, that means no other planets, no outland, no planetary invasions, no world-ending threats, and no foreign realms to explore. And it makes sense as to why someone might want this, considering that we haven't had a break from a grand external problem since the Mists of Pandaria. Now you could argue that Battle for Azeroth was our break from these external issues, up until you recall the giant sword sticking out of Silithus, the fact the planet was bleeding to death, and old gods. That all seems pretty over the top, not to mention fairly world-ending, but that's just me. Now getting back to the topic at hand, something I have come to notice when people discuss this grounded expansion, when it comes to the specifics, the nitty-gritty of what the expansion would actually detail, things get fuzzy. None really know what exact plots the expansion could have, besides the usual broad strokes that can apply to so much stuff at once, it's almost useless to even mention. For example, if you pay attention to the conversation surrounding this topic, you keep hearing the term local threat. And while we know what the term means, that we want a homegrown problem, what does that actually entail? Like, what local threat are you referring to? Do you want the Defias Brotherhood? Do you want the Mongrel Horde concept from Warlords of Draenor? What exactly do you want? From what I've seen, most, not all, but most, do not have a good answer. Instead, they'll say something like, "Oh, Dave, I want something without the involvement of the cosmos. Anything on this here chart, I don't want, period." Now, I'm going to be honest with you here. I'm going to be as honest as I possibly can, okay? Tough love, don't get mad, but that is stupid. You don't have WoW without this chart. You don't have Warcraft without cosmic influences. For example, going back to the very beginning, to Warcraft 1, there were cosmic forces doing Azeroth dirty. The Burning Legion, a cosmic force, corrupted the Orcs of Draenor and set them on the path of conquering Azeroth. That is cosmic influence. Another example, when you create a paladin and use a spell that channels the holy light through your very fingertips, that is also cosmic influence. And the same can be said for every game, every major plotline, and every expansion to date. The cosmic forces are not and cannot go anywhere because they can't actually leave. So get that thought out of your head. But with that being said, there are still plots that are relatively local and grounded, even if they do involve the cosmos. For example, there could be a potential plotline using the remnants of the Burning Legion. As we know, when the Legion was defeated on Argus, there were still demonic attacks taking place all over Azeroth. And who is to say that there aren't various holdouts of the Burning Legion all around the planet? In fact, we know there are, because Ted and Marius were hunting Legion outliers in BFA. But maybe you want something more recent. So let's talk about the Scourge. When we left for the Shadowlands, the undead were still on their rampage. So maybe when we get back, they still are. I shouldn't have to point out to you the problems of having undead run around, but you could also point out that perhaps there will also be remnants of the Maulsworn still causing problems even after the Jailer is defeated. So right then and there's 3 threats. Each of those are local, still cosmic in origin, mind you, but they apply to the very definition of grounded and are sensible. But something you might have noticed is that the 3 I listed, they are remnants of a past problem. They are the aftermath of threats we faced and beat already. And I think that if Blizzard were to do an expansion centered around Azeroth and nowhere else, I think that would be the theme. Because you see, Over the last 3 expansions or so, Azeroth has been through a lot and hasn't had the proper time to actually recover. Because in a span of about 5 years maybe, we had to fight the Burning Legion, we had to fight each other, the planet itself nearly died and forced us to basically fight against it, and the power of death is currently trying to end life as we know it. That's a lot of stuff, but maybe at long last in 10.0, maybe 11.0, Azeroth is brought to peace with not only itself, but also with the things that would see us destroyed, making the next plotline for Warcraft all about dealing with the aftermath of everything I just listed. Because we have to remember, just because an expansion ends, its plots and the effects they had on the planet, they don't just go away. Because currently, the planet is still recovering from the wound left by Sargeras. Azerite has surely popped up in more places than where we already know, and is still just as powerful as when we left BFA behind. And the Alliance and the Horde are still weakened. Their militaries depleted from 5 years of constant war, and are unable to properly secure their borders as they once did. That alone is a lot of stuff to cover, and could very well be the plot for the next expansion. On top of that, an expansion like this could also see the rise and return of a few factions that we all know and love. Maybe the Defias Brotherhood or the Burning Blade will take the opportunity to rise from the ashes for a 3rd time. Maybe the Scarlet Crusade will see a resurgence in membership after the betrayal of Sylvanas Windrunner and the rampage of the Scourge. Perhaps Azshara will return and cement herself as the dominant power with the factions weakened. And then you also have what I've said previously. The Scourge, still without a master, the holdouts of the Burning Legion, and the potential to see the Maulsworn still act upon the Jailer's wishes. And if you are going to go this route, if you're going to set an expansion based on tying up loose ends of the last few expansions, well, you are now entering world update territory, because believe me, the world would need to be updated to reflect on the present day. For example, the Night Elves are now basing out of Hyjal, the Alliance hold Lordaeron and the Undercity, Darkshire was sacked back in Legion, and as of the present day, Gadgetzan, a place I've talked about before, has gone from this to this. That's a lot of stuff, and a second update to the world would need to be done in order to properly portray it all. But, I mean, who can really say for sure? Who knows what the future holds? We're not even in 9.1 yet, so we're a long ways off, and I don't think we'll be finding out our answer anytime soon. But if you have any questions or comments about this video, Warcraft, or its lore, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below, and I'll be sure to read each and every one of them. Thanks for watching, and remember well,